record on computer. And now I'm going to turn it over to you.
You being Dave?
Dave and you, Nelson.
Okay. Has everybody checked in? Do we have a quorum?
We do. I see everyone on. We have Brittany, and we have Jeff, Bill, Miss Carol. Do you hear us, Miss Carol?
Yes, sir.
All right. Bill, do you have audio with us?
I don't know, do I?
Yep, you sure do.
All right.
Then we have a
Roger.
full house.
Yeah, this is Jeff. You can hear me?
Yep, we do.
10-4, Roger. How's everybody doing? All right.
We're good.
Great.
Carol,
Good.
are you
How's the-
recording?
I'm sorry.
Are you recording?
Yes, you should.
Yes, it is recording.
Okay, the time is 6:01 on June the 2nd, 2020. We call this meeting to order. Let the record reflect we have a full house, a complete quorum. Do we have any, well, it's rather difficult sometimes to do the visitor citizens forum going this route. Do we have anybody wanting to speak?
None that I've been alerted to. We've got
Okay, good.
Miss Travers here for item number 2, and I'm sure she'll want to speak then.
Okay. Then we'll start on our list here. Item number 1, consideration and possible action regarding regular meeting minutes of May 5, 2020.
Yes.
Looks good. I'll make a motion that we pass the minutes of May 5th meeting 2020 as read.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the regular meeting minutes of May 5, 2020. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? Ayes have it, motion passes. Item number 2, consideration and possible action on a proposed carport structure located at 415 Houston Street, a city designated historic landmark as submitted by owner Tanny Traver.
All right, guys, you may remember this from a couple months back, and Ms. Traver had a personal issue come up and wasn't able to attend the meeting, and she'd just like the opportunity to circle back and just have a dialogue with the commission about what you guys might find acceptable for a carport structure, as well as just kind of talk, I think, a little bit about some of the structures that surround her. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Traver and let her carry on.
Okay, guys. Okay, I'm going to try and make this as painless as possible, but you do need to have a little bit of background so you can kind of understand. First, let me show you a picture of my house so we all know where I am. Okay. Nope, that's not the right picture. We have like 8 pictures we loaded so you can understand. Okay,
Can you see it?
let me pick it up. Can you see it?
Yes, I believe that we can see the backyard.
Can y'all
there with
see
the
it?
big tree.
No, can you see the front picture of my house that
No,
we
not
see?
the front, but I see the backyard.
Okay, hang on a second. We're trying to work through some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I want you to see what it is we're starting with. Okay, I'll just explain that picture as we're here, since we might just flip around a little bit. Okay, that picture, I'm talking about putting a carport on my property that I've been working on since January. I took the fence down with this anticipation of this not being a difficult decision, but I'm on like option 5. Okay, if you look to the right, there's a 150-year-old oak tree that actually there's a picture of that in your courthouse. And I could not put my carport there because I had an arborist come over here and talk to me, and he said that that would disrupt the roots and my tree would fall over. So that's one of my options that I could not use. Okay, let's flip to another picture. Go to the house.
Oops, hang on.
Oh,
It's
We
okay.
had-
Give me a second.
there's my house. We have sudden links, so it's kind of tough. We got poor connection half the time. Okay, can you see the house?
Not quite.
Yes?
No. There.
There
Yes.
we go.
Yes.
Okay, that's the front of my house, 415 Houston Street, directly behind the post office. And the post office is to the right of me. Okay, go to picture 2. Yes. Okay, this is the
Ask me if I
lot.
can see it.
Can you see this picture? Has a fence with 2 bicycles?
Not yet.
No.
It's still the front of the house. It may just be a lag or.
Right. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this is option number 5, because I've already gone through the first 4 options, which I'll explain in a little bit. This is option number 5, would be the only place that I could put this, which is between my house and the post office. And then my carport would be behind those gates. So you wouldn't even see, yeah, I'd have to open the gates before the concrete would start and the carport would start. Okay, so let me kind of give you a little bit of background. Okay, I've been working on this since January. I have 2 cars, 1 truck, 1 RV, the size of a FedEx truck. Okay, go to that. I need a covered place for my $80,000 RV and my truck, as I don't want them damaged by outside elements. These were my options. 1, put it next to my garage. There's my RV. Okay. Put it next to my garage. I spent $400 digging it up and capping the sprinkler system to only discover there were too many water lines underneath to pour concrete over. So my first option became impossible to do. Option number 2 was to put it behind that historic shack. The tree specialist was contacted, and he said, like I explained, it'd be the risk of disruption of the concrete being poured near the tree, and it may disrupt it, and my 150-year-old tree would tip over. Okay, option 2, out. Option 3 was near the post office in front of the fence. One neighbor apparently protested that at your meeting, unbeknownst to me. He recruited other neighbors to attend under false pretenses, of which I found out later. They were told they were only going to see a city council meeting. Half of them, 4 of the 8, I believe, knew what they were going for. The other 4 said they were just told, hey, would you like to go to a city council meeting? So they couldn't understand why I was not at the city council meeting, because I knew nothing about it. Okay, option number 4, extend my concrete driveway near the garage and erect the cover, which would be another ideal spot. Can't do that because it would be over the building line. Option 5 is my only option I have left. Put the building behind my fence and through that gate. Not ideal for me, but doable. A 12 by 24 for my RV or a 24 by 24 for both vehicles. I prefer metal for 2 reasons. It can match my house perfectly in white and black. My house has been, I have brand new roof put on 2 weeks ago. I keep my house impeccable and my yard impeccable. I would only have something that was very pleasing to the eye. A wood structure with beams and concrete is cost prohibitive because it's over $20,000 and I've already received bids. Okay, go to the carport, people. My reasons for approval, it's removable and it's temporary. If I sell the RV, it can be removed. It can also be used as a backyard patio. Okay, let me show you any of them. Just start, we're gonna go through all these. Okay, now look at the carport across the street from me. Okay, of my 12 neighbors, 8 neighbors have a carport. Go. Mine would look nothing like, mine would, if you've ever driven by my house, you would know how well I keep my house, I keep my yard. It would match as well as it could possibly. Okay, that's carport number 2. Both of those 2 are across the street. Okay, we've seen that one. Go.
Okay.
And I just took a picture of a few of them.
I scroll down on that image. It's not quite coming up. I just see the top of the trees.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Ah, sorry.
I'm not that great at this either, so give me just a second.
Do you have a picture of the carport you want to put up?
Let's see. Okay, one minute. Here, okay, here's a lean-to. Here's a lean-to my neighbor put in. It's kind of sideways, but there's a little lean-to that he just went and put up. He didn't ask permission to do that. It's kind of sideways, but you can see he's my neighbor. He's the one who complained across the street. He has his lean-to that I can see from my front yard, from my porch. Okay, my carport would look just like I had pictures of it before. It's just a white carport with black trim to match my house. It depends. If I went with the 12 by 24, it would probably be more like an A-frame. It'd be behind the gate. Nobody'd even really pay attention to it. I'd drive up, keep my motorhome in it. And I could either use it for my motorhome or I could use it as a patio structure. And if your objection is to the historical value and rules that they do not apply to 415 Houston Street, I do not have a historical emblem for a reason. When I purchased this home 5 years ago, it was specifically discussed with the realtor. I do not have to adhere to any historic regulations as I would not have purchased the property. That was in discussion when I purchased the property. These are my choices. If I'm not approved to have covering for my RV and truck, I have no choice but to park them in the grass, which is unsightly. If 75% of my neighbors have a lean-to and carports not approved by the city in their yards, why is my problem? I will only erect a carport that matches the aesthetics of my home. So I can show you, like you can go to a metal building and you can pick up a picture of it like an A-frame, but I've already looked at them. It's white, I'll trim it in black, just like my house. And it's behind the fence. So if you look at 8 of my 12 neighbors have carports in their yard and they're unsightly.
Okay, I got a question.
Okay.
Anybody, am I on?
We hear you.
Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, you hear me? Okay.
Go
Okay.
We hear
ahead.
you.
But just clarification, is this a carport or a garage?
It is not a garage.
It will not have sides.
It may have a like half side depending upon the weather. I had 2 different people come look at it and they said you might want to make it like halfway down just to prevent the rain and all that hitting my expensive RV. But as far as being a garage, no, I did price another garage because I do have a garage.
So
But the new garage was $35,000.
okay, what I'm getting at, it will have some type of side. More likely.
If it's a metal building, I would probably put it I think I went and looked at them. I think they're like halfway down. It would not be totally enclosed.
Okay, well, I just want to make that clear, because if you say carport, people picture just the top, and then if you build it and it's got the sides that we approved a carport, now it's got sides, there's going to be some confusion. So
No, it would be.
But you're basically getting a canopy enclosure.
Yes, I'm getting a canopy enclosure that is removable.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Yes, if in fact I were to sell my motorhome, and I didn't want it there anymore, but I also could use it as a backyard patio.
I understand.
Like I said, I'm on option number 5 now. I'd really prefer it next to my garage, but it didn't work out. And that's why it's taken me 6 months to come up with my last option.
Well, I think being put behind the fence line is helping the matter. And I just wanted to clarify the carport to a enclosed structure. So there's no confusion that later on down the road.
Okay, no, there's no confusion. It will not be an enclosed structure like you roll up a door and go in. No, it'll be.
Well, I understand that. Yeah.
No, that is correct.
I mean, it'll be a partial enclosed canopy.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay.
And I will match it as close to my house. I've looked at them. My house is white, trimmed in black. I just had a black roof put on 2 weeks ago. My house is being painted next week. I try and keep my property in excellent shape. Oh, there we go. It's kind of
an effort just to try and get just a general idea. I know these may not be the exact things, but Tanya, is there one on here that would be similar? Obviously not in color, but in appearance.
Yeah, I should have grabbed my other thing. Actually, that is similar, but that's more like mine's going to be a little more pointed to equal the same design as my house, and my my cover will be going vertical because there's a pecan tree there. And I had someone look at it and he said the pecans and the leaves can land on that roof when it's going horizontal versus vertical. So my rooftop would probably be vertical just so my pecans hit it and bounce off of it, and so do the leaves. But that's kind of the general part. And I haven't made up my mind whether I'm going to do maybe just put my motorhome in there, which is, like I said, the same size as a FedEx truck. It fits in a regular parking spot. But like I said, ideally next to my garage in the front would have been the best. But due to the building line and all the water lines I have under the ground, it's impossible for me to make that choice.
So you're saying it'll either be a 12 by 24 or 24 by 24?
Yes, I haven't made, because I haven't priced it in a long time, because I keep switching where it's going to go and then it doesn't seem to work. So otherwise it'd be a 24 by 24, and I would pour concrete and I would put my truck and the motorhome there. So I would just open the gates, and I have to have room for the gates, and I've marked it off where my sprinkler system is, because you have that problem as well. And I would because it doesn't move very much.
Right.
It's not like my motorhome. I think I've been in it once in a year, but I used to keep it in storage for 15 years, and now it's time to move it out of there so I can use it.
If we're going to approve anything, it needs to be 24 by 24, then you can go smaller, I feel.
Okay, 24, but I can go smaller, correct?
Well, I'd rather you do that than come back and say, hey, I want to add 12 feet onto it.
No, I know. That's why I wanted to be able to have both options, and whichever one I think will look best will be the one that, because I like my house to look nice. It's very important to me to have my house look well.
But I think we need to, in my opinion, and I don't know what y'all else think, we need to do, if we're going to approve it, it needs to be approved as a 24 by 24, then she can go down if she likes with no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, that's a good point, Bill. This is Jeff. Ms. Trevor, I'm looking at the picture with the white fence, and the picture is fine. That's all we need. Just wanted to clarify when Bill was asking about the fence stays the way it is. And then are you going to use the existing gate that's there now, those two?
Yes,
Yeah, so that will give you the width you need for the gate? I mean, just to be able to.
yeah, I'll only be able to
through
pull one in at a time. I'll only be able to
Yes.
pull one in at a time, but that's okay because I do not want to disrupt my fence and the structure I already have. It's concreted in, it looks fabulous
Mhm.
how I have it set up, so I would.
No, I think
make it work.
I think for the record, and my opinion too, is that I think you've done a good job with the location being there for the overall look and use of it. And yes, you do take really nice care of your property.
Thank you.
So what we're looking at, I think it really helps to visualize that.
Okay,
But yes, I agree with Bill. I think we need to look at it, this 24 by 24. You can always go smaller. Yeah.
okay. Does anybody else have any other questions of me? And I'll let you move on with this Zoom meeting that you have to do tonight.
Just for clarification, that's behind your existing white fence as we've seen it.
That is correct.
Okay.
Go ahead. I think it looks good to me. It'll fit the house.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the enclosed carport being a 24 by 24 foot area. And then it can be made smaller if need be at, let me get the address. Where's the address? 415 Houston Street.
And I'm sorry, can I just mention one thing? And just to be clear, since we're not actually looking at the final diagram, we like the idea that it would match. Should we mention that in the motion, that it matches the color and the style of the house?
Okay, let me back up.
I've already been down there several times and looked at, it'll have a black roof that matches my black roof. It'll have white sides and it'll have the trim. The trim on the front will be black. The roof will be black like my house and the sides will be white. And what's that little, on the A-frame's white too, where they would
Okay,
match.
yeah, you're right. You've been
the
by
front
that.
of my house.
Yeah, we could also just say as proposed, however you want to do that, Bill.
Yeah, we'll just go back and add, as per color scheme of the existing house.
Okay, perfect.
Good. I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the proposed carport structure 24 by 24 behind the fence at 415 Houston Street and meeting the same guidelines that was discussed that would match her house. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposition? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Now, question, Dave, is this
Sir.
going to go before City Council?
No, sir, it does not go to City Council.
Then we're the final word on it.
You are.
Okay, that's what I needed to know. Item number 3.
Okay, thank you, guys. I'm checking out now. Thank you very
All right,
much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Item number 3, consideration and possible action on a proposed property fence for Hodgepodge Lodge located at 300 Prairie Street in the Historic Preservation District as submitted by owner Jeffrey Angelo.
So commissioners, you have the information there in your packet. If you've been by there, you may have noticed he is underway with a lot of these improvements.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I think he felt, there's a bit of a backstory on it that, has to do with an adjacent landowner, and the access to the Hodgepodge Lodge that had been used for years was no longer available and to him to use. And so he had to kind of scramble after the shutdown. As he's gotten ready to move, we had contacted Jeff, the owner, as we saw the fence post going up, and alerted him to the requirements of the historic district and got him to submit, this information here. And I think he felt, a bit in a bind. Tonight was his opening night. He's not on the meeting with us. He wished he could have been, but again, this was their first night back since closing down with the pandemic. But the two items that we're looking at here is, one is the fence, and the second is really just a conversion of a parking area that has been used for parking for a number of years. It's kind of a grass and gravel area. And you can see in the photos submitted there, kind of the sort of the permeable system that he's using for his parking, where he would have lawn space where the cars park with a gravel drive around the center. I think, I know he came to city council a couple of years ago, talking about the system, and I think he likely came to P&Z as well. So
yes, I was going to
say that again, Dave.
I know he had introduced this type of a parking system to the city council a number of years ago. It wasn't an action item. I think he just came as a general, presentation for what he was looking to do. And again, I think he may have done that with the P&Z. I don't know that for sure. But again, it was just an informal, kind of introduction to the, to the concept. Not necessarily, he did not come asking, for any type of approval or a parking lot variance at that time.
Yes, it just so you know, David, you weren't there at that, but 2 years ago, he did come to P&Z first before and showed us the samples. Mm-hmm. So the paving, the parking lot part of it is something that's been looked at. But can you just give us a brief history, David, on what was there something that's happened recently with the other property owner, with that property that's between 105 and his property? Is that what we're talking about?
It is that. So that property changed hands. It was owned by Matt Hayek and for a number of years, and Chris Cheatham had recently closed on the property. And as once the contract, or my understanding of it is, once the property went under option or went under contract, in early March, they had told the Hodgepodge Lodge that they were no longer allowed to use that access. And, you can kind of see on the survey that's included there where the access to Hodgepodge Lodge is actually south of the property line. And so then, they kind of went, back and forth on, look, how do we work this out? When the coronavirus and the county's judge's order closed down restaurants, the next day is when they had put up the gates and the no trespassing signs there on that property.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was confused. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's something that's important for us to know. It shouldn't have really happened that way, but I can understand his situation. Because
in talking with the owner of Hodgepodge Lodge, they intend on doing, as they already do a number of weddings and events, and I think his main concern is that if the property to the south changes use to say a strip center of some type, I think that Mr. Cheatham has talked about some type of something that's not quite a strip center, but he doesn't, I don't think the owner of the Hodgepodge Lodge feels like, you know, the back of a commercial, you know, operation is necessarily going to, you know, be what, you know, the brides that he's trying to, you know, to get into his venue are going to want to look at. And so I think he's
Sure.
kind of the
Yeah.
reason behind the fence. He had, you know, also explained, I didn't include it in the packet because I didn't have any specifics on it, but I do know, at least on the interior side, he plans a number of vines and trees and, you know, shrubs and things on the inside of the fence as well.
Well, okay, thank you for yes. Under the circumstances, the nature of his business, he really will need a privacy fence for the type of functions that they do, and I would say that the basket weave style is probably a better choice than some others. So I'll just say that you know, I think that style of fence would be appropriate for that type of property here. Everything he's done is trying to be a good look for wedding venues.
Dave,
On
is
the
the
Go
actually
ahead.
is the fence actually 8 feet tall?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was out there today. It's obviously all but completed. Is he going to paint it?
I believe his intent is to stain it like he's shown in the photo here. That's in the packet. Not a really dark stain, not a really light stain, just kind of a neutral
I see.
reddish brown.
Yeah, natural. Well, if I would say if he's going to do a fence, that's probably not too bad looking. You can't really do wrought iron because you don't want to be able to see through it.
Right.
It's too late now. We got to approve this what's up there.
Yeah. No, I agree. It should not have happened this way. I think things changed pretty quickly because he had actually put an entrance for 105 recently, and they were using it, and then things changed drastically when the property was sold, I guess.
Right. And in speaking with him, I think, you know, just a couple months after he had paved with asphalt the existing gravel driveway is when he, you know, was told that he was, you know, no longer able to use it. And so I think it, you know, kind of caught him by surprise. And, you know, that's certainly not an excuse for, you know, circumventing the process or, you know, I mean, of course, you know, you guys, you know, still have every option, you know, on the table, you know, so I would suggest to you, if you don't feel like it's appropriate in some form, you know, just, you know you do have a full range of options there, you know, to take, although, you know, he knows that, you know, that in putting it up without an approval that, you know, he does, you know, run the risk of it not being approved. So
Did he confer with, or did he just do it?
We saw the post going in and reached out to him, which is, you know, it's a little easier sometimes, you know, with either, you know, a developer or someone like that who may know the, you know, the rules and regulations a little bit better. But, you know, I think that in speaking with him, I do feel like it was an honest mistake. I don't feel like he was trying to, you know, to purposely, you know, circumvent things. I think in his mind, he was just trying to figure out, you know, how he was going to get open back up. So,
Well,
Yeah.
there's
Well,
really nothing. I mean, that's a expensive cost to absorb if anything would, I mean, if we would, for some reason, decide to say no and take it down, that would be disastrous to him with what's going on and being shut down for the time. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the fence that is already built at 300 Prairie Street. just under, I will, I'll motion to approve it, but not liking it. The way it was handled.
Yes, if we could send a message that in the future, this is, that was not the way to do it. But
Absolutely.
And
I'll second that motion.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Can I just ask one more thing and then we'll continue with Bill's motion? On the parking area, it is confirmed that it would be the absorption type with grass growing up through it or possibly gravel. Did they get into that detail? Whether it was going to be
where the cars are parked, it'll be gravel, or I'm sorry, it'll be lawn where the cars are parked. With this system underneath, in the aisles of the parking lot and in the entrance, kind of the main access, routes inside the site will have a gravel.
Okay, yeah, and he's already done some blacktopping recently, I think.
Right. I think he had, done enough, just enough of the blacktop there over the new culvert that he had to install there on the north side of the property, and just kind of an apron, leading into the site. And then it goes to the, to the grid system.
Okay. Good. Got it. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Are these two items or one, Dave?
They're really under the same item. You can take them individually or separate, or however you want to do on them.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just go ahead and make a motion to approve the fence that is already installed, and also approve the permanent grid paving system proposed for the parking lot. It's already installed.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the property fence already installed and the parking enhancements as stated. Was there any further discussion from anybody else?
I just had a question about the access. So I heard that you just installed another culvert, but so that access from Caroline Street is also prohibited because it's on the other property owners. I mean, it's within his parcel, right?
Right.
But I guess my question is, like, doesn't he legally have to have an access point?
Well, he's got the one now on the north end of the, kind of the northwest corner onto Prairie Street. He wasn't really landlocked in that he had street frontage. He just didn't have a culvert there.
Okay, and that didn't have to go through P&Z or anything. I guess how does that work, installing another access point?
For the culvert, it's, really, since it's in the right of way and it's a, the property owner pays for it, but it's, in terms of, a curb cut or a street access and, setting a culvert isn't necessarily, I suppose, an aesthetic change to the property. So, in our eyes, at least, it was more of a public works item and less of a, I guess, less of a design or, historical aesthetic question for P&Z.
Okay, I just didn't know how that works. I know in Harris County there's you got to get approval, or a text dot takes care of a lot of that. So just want to know how it worked here.
Right.
And since and David, also to go along with that, I'm trying to picture down as you get closer to the Oaks. Was there a second access for his property there too?
That's his only access now, is just adjacent to the Oaks driveway. The Oaks has two accesses, has one, kind of long arcing, circular driveway, but Hodgepodge has the one access in and out.
Okay.
Anything further? Okay, those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 And any opposition indicate by saying no. Okay, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Another question. Dave, is this particular one going to have to go before City Council?
Yes, sir. So the work that he has left on his, in terms of city approval, the city requires in the subdivision ordinance, we do require a development plat to be submitted that's done either by an engineer or by a registered surveyor. Obviously, using a permeable system, and he's not going to, be looking at any type of drainage work or anything like that to do. But he does still have to have all the improvements noted and meet all the requirements of a development plat. Additionally, he's also going to have a variance, the parking ordinance, which does require, it says that it can be an all-weather surface, but all-weather being defined as either asphalt or concrete for off-street parking for commercial businesses. So the grid system itself will also have to have a variance to the the parking ordinance as well from City Council.
Okay, so we may hear about this again.
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. Item number 4. Consideration and possible action on a preliminary report for the Hills of Town Crete, Section 4, rezoning request from B commercial to R1 single family residential.
In your packet is the information on this, along with the draft of a preliminary report. This may look a little new to a lot of us, but this is the sort of the process, the way that it's laid out in the agenda. While a bit of overkill on just a simple, rezoning, this is the way that the Texas zoning law is laid out. In that the commission forms a preliminary report, then it holds public hearings on that report. And in the past, we've just kind of held a general, public hearing on the rezoning itself, which is part of it. But what we're really, asked, by law to hold the public hearing on is the preliminary report. And so what you have in front of you is just a draft of a report that we will then have a public hearing on. We'll close the public hearing. We'll ask if there's any member of the public who wants to add anything to it or amend anything or make any comments. We only have Andy here from Community Impact on the line with us in terms of not us. So, and then we'll hold another public hearing and then we'll make a final report. So I guess what we're being asked to do here, or what I'm asking of the commission here, is to take a look at the preliminary report, which is very basic in nature. See if there's anything that you would like to add to it before we go into the public hearings.
I don't have anything. Anybody else have something they want to add before we?
Do we just pass it on, or do we need to approve, the preliminary report?
Yes, sir. The preliminary report will just stay internal to P&Z, meaning that this won't go on to council, but the final report that
I'll make a motion.
Afterwards will.
I'll make a motion to approve the preliminary report for the Hills of Town Creek Section 4 rezoning request from B commercial to R1 single family resident.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary report for the Hills of Town Creek, Section 4, rezoning request from B commercial to R1 single family residential. Any further discussion? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposition indicate by saying no. Ayes have it. We move on to a public hearing. So I guess the record should reflect that we'll enter into a public hearing or convene into a public hearing for the purpose of giving all interested persons the right to appear and be heard regarding the following. Item number 5 is presentation of the preliminary report for the Hills of Town Creek, Section 4 rezoning request from B commercial to R1 single family residential, and 6 rezoning request for the Hills of Town Creek, Section 4, an 8-acre parcel of land located at the intersection of Emma's Way and Scenic Hills Court, currently Zone B commercial, to be rezoned R1 single family residential as submitted by Chris Cheatham and the Hills of Town Creek LLC. This is the difficult part of doing this on Zoom, is because if somebody shows up, are they going to be a party to what we're doing? Have you cut me off?
No, sir, you're still there.
Okay.
No, there's no public comments. Nope, no comments.
I think it's the 5 commissioners, Andy Lee from Community Impact, and myself on the line. Susan's computer is only running in the background to just to record the meeting.
Okay. Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:47 p.m. and reconvene our regular session. Item number 7, discussion and possible action on public comments received from the public hearing on the preliminary report of the rezoning request for the Hills of Town Creek, Section 4.
And Commissioner, as we had no public comment, it would be perfectly fine not to take any action on this item.
Well, that's fine with me. It's fine for everybody else.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
Should it be officially tabled or
No, so
shall
just
we
no
pass
action would
on?
be fine.
No, just no action.
Mhm.
Okay, we'll so designate it. We'll move on to the next public hearing. We'll convene into a public hearing for the purpose of giving all interested persons the right to appear and be heard regarding the following. Item 8, presentation of the preliminary report of the Hills of Town Creek, Section 4 rezoning request from B commercial to R1 single family residential, and item number 9, rezoning request for the Hills of Town Creek, Section 4, an 8-acre parcel of land located at the intersection of Emma's Way and Scenic Hills Court, currently Zone B commercial, to be rezoned R1 single family residential as submitted by Chris Cheatham / the Hills of Town Creek LLC. And make a note that the meeting starts 6:49 p.m.
Sure.
Dave, would that be considered a second public hearing?
Yes, sir. And speaking with our new city attorney, he has, along with, I believe, the majority of city attorneys across the state, believe that there's no harm in holding the two public hearings during the same evening or as part of the same meeting.
Well, if you can hear me over the crowd, we'll close out this public meeting at 6:50 p.m. and reconvene into the regular session. Item number 10, discussion and possible action regarding preparation of a final report of the rezoning request for the Hills of Town Creek, Section 4.
Commissioners, you have in front of you a draft of the final report. You know, certainly feel free to edit it as you see fit. I did want to include a draft of it. As not sure if if you guys all see the final report. I know you may not always see what the final report looks like. That ends up going to council. So I've got a draft of it here. This is generally how they look, and the information that's included in there, but obviously it's yours to make and amend and adopt as you see fit.
I make a motion to approve the final report on the rezoning request at Hills of Town Creek, Section 4.
I'm sorry, did I hear a second?
Yes, sir. Bill?
Okay. All right. I have a motion and a second to approve the preparation and approve the final report of the rezoning request for the Hills of Town Creek, Section 4. Any further discussion?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Sorry, is it important to put like site size on there, like the size of the tract?
It is, and it's up in the subject is where you'll see sort of the legal description of that.
Got it. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, anything further? Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposition indicate by saying no. The ayes have it. And that, Brother Dave, is there anything else that we need to talk about here?
No, sir. I don't have anything on the agenda or in my notes to talk about. I'd be happy to answer any thoughts or questions anyone else has on anything. But other than that, I think that's
One thing, David, can you give us an update on where we're at on the entry sign there for the new Best Donuts?
yes, sir.
I know we talked about this.
Yep. She had, I spoke with her earlier, no, it was last week. And she did submit a drawing to me that was about a 6-foot, round sign that was essentially just a couple feet off the ground. It looked, very similar to the last one, just, smaller and, lower. I did reach out to their sign company to ask them to provide a site plan that was updated, that would show exactly where the sign would be in the context of the utility easements that are along 105 and, you know, the existing backflow devices that are there in those green cages. So I should be hearing, I expect to hear back in the next, you know, I would say week or so, which would mean it would be on the agenda for, you know, for next month. And again, they're open is tomorrow, so it's obviously not anything that's holding them up from opening. So,
Sure.
And when is that, Dave?
I think first thing in the morning is my understanding. So
Everybody gets a free donut. Free donut.
Oh,
Brittany,
that's what we need.
How's the
That's
baby?
what we need.
Maybe
We've
the
all
baby
been
could
cooped
eat
up in the house for 3 months. That's what we need, donuts.
Well,
Yeah.
they have very good kolaches.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've had them, but no, thank you, David. And I know we talked about the main concern was size. And just for the record, I just wanted to, we kind of touched on this, but I looked at it, you know, the more we looked at it, in my mind, it does help to mark the end where you make the turn to come in. Because as people are coming west, heading west on 105, or either direction for that matter, I do, you know, I'm not an expert on this text dot stuff, but, you know, I just, after we discussed it, I looked at it again, and it does seem like it would help as a marker for safety as where you turn into the driveway. Just my thought. And I think after we talked about it, it was mainly if the size could be, you know, a lot smaller, but still recognizable, then that seems like it would work. But again, I'm not sure we touched on the safety point, but I just think it would help as far as marking the entryway. Because people that coming from out of town, they don't know where to turn in. Just a thought. So hopefully that'll be on the agenda for the next time.
I believe it will be, you know, just based on my conversations with them.
Well, thank you for following up on that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything further? I would like to thank everybody that's made these last several meetings, taking time out of your schedules and so on. It's because it's a small number of people that really want to put themselves out there. So we thank all the volunteers.
Absolutely.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second that. Thank you. Appreciate it. And the opportunity that we can help.
Okay. And everybody in favor of the adjournment, say aye.
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 Can I
See
clarify who
y'all
made
next
the?
month.
Hey, Nelson, before you go, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can I clarify who made the motion? I think it was seconded by Jeff.
Well, I think he thought I made the motion.
I think so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Sorry. I was in a hurry. I'll make a motion that we adjourn the meeting
All right.
at this time.
And I'll second.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
And aye.
Okay.
Aye,
Take care,
in
everybody.
favor.
Aye.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Dave,
All right, guys.
if you need me to sign anything, let me know.
Very good. I'll do it. I'll reach out. I have these minutes and the previous minutes.
Okay.
So thank you, sir.
You let me know. I'm going to be out prowling around a little bit with a neighbor tomorrow, and I'll be available as long as it's not raining. But if it's raining, I just don't get out. You know, they say sugar melts when it gets wet. So I have to
Oh, no.
I understand that. Thank
Hey,
you, guys.
Brittany, how's the baby? You still there?
I think she's logged off. I see her
Okay.
computer on, but
Just wanted to ask.
thanks,
I'm sure
guys.
she's being a good. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Y'all take care.
Yes, sir.